Today's lesson is solving equations by adding or subtracting fractions. So we're taking the objectives that we've learned from past lessons, and we are going to use those same ideas to answer these questions. So we're going to solve equations by subtracting fractions and solving equations by adding fractions. Now remember, with fractions you need a common denominator. If you multiply the bottom of the denominator, you need to multiply the top. We need to remember that. So if you have 2/3 and we need a common denominator of 12, you multiply the bottom by 4 and you need to multiply the top by 4. So let's go over some problems. All right, solve and check each equation. In 1999, the average household in the United States recycled about 1/4 of its solid waste. The Environmental Protection Agency has set a goal of recycling about 1/3 of its waste. So that's the goal. That's what we want it to equal. How much would the average U.S. household need to increase its recycling to meet the EPA goal? So increase in math means adding. So it's going to be, we already recycle by 1/4, and we want to add what to make it 1/3. So there's your equation. Now how do I get n by itself? It's the same idea. 1/4 is adding to n, so I'm going to subtract 1/4. So I'm going to subtract 1/4. Now n equals something. Well, can't add like this because I have different denominators, so I'm going to find a number that works well with both of them, and that would be 12. So I'm going to have 12 and 12. To get 3 from 12, I need to multiply by 4. So that's going to be 4, 12's on top. And to get 4 to 12, it's multiplied by 3. So it's going to be 3. Then I subtract them. 4 minus 3 is 1, and you leave the denominator the same. That's what you would have to do. So we would have to increase our recycling by 1/12. Now, let's try B. Y plus 1/6 equals 5/6. Well, I'm going to subtract 1/6 to both sides because I want to get y by itself. So y equals, they both have the common denominator, so 6 will be your number, and 5 minus 1 is 4. Well, 4/6. That's one answer, but I'd like it as simple as possible. So 4/6, I can divide by 2 on both of them, so that would be 2/3 equals y. So there you go. All right, C. I have 2/3 equals u plus 3/5. Well, I need to get u by itself. So to do that, it's 3/5 is adding to u, so I'm going to subtract 3/5. I'm going to bring it over to the side over where I have enough blank space. So I'll change the color. It's going to be purple. So I have 2/3 minus 3/5. So then I'm going to find a common denominator. So 15 works. I multiply this by 3. So I need to multiply this by 3. So that's 9. And I'm going to multiply this by 5 and this by 5. So that's 10. So then I have 10 minus 9, which is 1, and then 15ths. Then you have to see which one's bigger, 2/3 or 3/5. And 2/3 is bigger, so it's a positive. So it's 1/15. A. Oh, I don't know why it's A, but let's try to make it a D. This time I'm going to add 3/5 to both sides. It's the same one, so this time I'm going to add them. So I have 10/15 plus 9/15. That's going to be 19/15. That also equals 15 goes into 9 one time. How much is left over? 4. And then you leave the denominator the same. So it's 1 4/15. All right, let's look at the next one. All right, so examples 2 and 3. Again, we're going to add 3/4 to both sides. We want to get n by itself. Notice they have different signs. So I'm going to make a common denominator. That's 8. And that is going to be, if that's 8, that's going to be 6. And then you have -5/8. So this is going to be 6/8. All right, if one's a positive and one's a negative, you're going to subtract them. So you're going to have to put the bigger one on top and the smaller one on the bottom, and then subtract them. So you go 6 minus 5 is 1. Now you have 8, and then see which one is bigger and put that sign. So 6 is bigger than 5, so it's a positive answer. I'm going to add 2/7. Add 2/7. So it's going to be 8/7 equals x. What's another way I can make it equal to each other? Well, turning it into a mixed number. So 7 goes into 8 one time. There's one number left over, and so it's 1 1/7. Now we have numbers. We have mixed numbers. We need to practice with that. So I'm going to add 1 3/8. 1 3/8. So I'm going to have 2 1/4, which would turn into 2 2/8 plus 1 3/8. Again, you can add the two bigger ones. So 2 plus 1 is 3. And 2 plus 3 is 5/8. 5/8 is already in proper form, so you don't have to add an extra number to it. So it's P equals 3 5/8. D, I'm going to subtract 1 1/3. Subtract 1 1/3. I'm going to bring that over because, sorry. That would be 3 7/18. 18ths is going to be the common denominator, and this is going to be -1. I'm going to multiply by 6. So it's going to be 18 6. So 3 minus 1 is 2. I'm putting it over on underneath the answer this time. And 7 minus 6 is 1, and leave 18 equals Z. Now, if you had something like this, if you had 1 2/3 plus 5/6, let's make it 4. 4 5/6. So, I would make a common denominator. I'm going to make it a different color. So it would be 1, 4, and I would make it 6. So times 2. So it would be 4, 6, and 5, 6. And I'd add them. 4 plus 1 is 5. And 4 plus 5 is 11 over 6. Well, that's a problem. You can't leave it 11 over 6. So I would have to figure out how many times 6 goes into 11. That's 1 time. 5 left over. And now you have 5 plus 1 and 5, 6. So now you add them together. So it's 6 and 5, 6. And there's your answer. That's how you would do that. You also might have a problem where you would have, let me see. All right, I wrote out a problem. It's 2 1/6 minus 2 2/3. So what I would have to do is find a common denominator. I'm going to make it a different color. So it's going to be 3 1/6. 6 works just fine for this one. And 6, and that would be 4. And you subtract. Well, I could do the 3 minus 2, but I can't do the 1 minus 4. In fraction form, you always have to borrow. So I'm going to borrow from the 3. And I'm going to make that a 2. And I'm going to add the number that the denominator is. So if it's 1 is the numerator, I'm going to add 6 to it. So now it's going to be 7, 6. Now I can subtract. 2 minus 2 is 0, and 7 minus 4 is 3 over 6, which equals 1/2. And that's how you would do when you don't have a high enough numerator to subtract. You need to borrow. All right. Goodbye.